welcome back to Ask a Pennsylvania Dutchman. My name is Chris LaRose, and this here is Doug Maidenford, our resident Pennsylvania Dutchman. How are you, Doug?
Well, I'm doing just fine.
Anything you'd like to say before we get started?
It's a beautiful night.
I'd say I'd agree. All right, well, this is a combination question because there are two different questions that were pretty much along the same lines.
Okay.
The first one comes from Dr. Michael Werner of Ober Olm, Germany.
Oh, wow, from Germany, yeah?
And he basically asks, could you explain a little bit about the frugalness of PA Dutch and...
Of our culture.
Yes,
yeah,
of our culture.
Okay.
And then Shawn Richardson of York County says he was watching a cooking show, and he saw that they used a bunch of vegetables to make the stock for the soup, and then after they got the stock done, they threw away all the vegetables and then added organic vegetables into it. And he's like, well, the way I see it is they just made two pots of soup, and they just threw the first one away before they even got to do anything with it. So he wants to know what you think about this wastefulness in our culture.
We are living in a culture that just throws everything away, and I cannot understand it. Because one of the hallmarks of Pennsylvania Dutch culture is, as Dr. Michael Werner asked, frugality. Some people might say cheap. Yeah, but the Pennsylvania Dutch are a little cheap, and we keep...
Waste not, want not.
Waste not, want not. Let me give you an example. My grandmother, now she grew up and, lived through the Depression. She threw nothing away.
Neither did my grandparents.
When they'd get mail and they'd open their envelope and then, whatever, take the letter on, she'd save the envelope and then write her store list on the back of the envelope.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. Why would you throw that good piece of paper away?
Now you don't need to buy a $5 pad.
And here's the thing, like that. But you look at everybody in our culture today. You have something for 5 seconds, whoosh, throw it away. I bought a dehumidifier for the house the other day, and it stopped working. Well, it was a while ago. It seems like the other day. And it stopped working right. And I went back to the store and I said, hey, I bought this dehumidifier from you guys 2 years ago and it don't work no more. It don't make. And the guy said, yeah, so? I said, well, it's only 2 years old. And the guy said, oh, buy a new one. No one's going to fix that for you anymore. They're not made that way. What? I gave you $250 for that damn thing 2 years ago, and now it's no good no more, and instead of fixing it, we gotta throw it away. It's cheaper to buy a new one than to get it fixed, he said. But that makes no sense at all to me.
What if it's a little washer? You just gotta replace the washer.
Who knows? I'm telling you what, I get so frustrated with this country because it's the Pennsylvania Dutch, we save everything and we use everything. Right now one of the hot trends in culinary arts and in restaurants is this snout to tail, where all of a sudden these fancy chefs are using every part of the pig or every part of the cow. That's what the poor
chefs did.
We've been doing that
for hundreds of years.
We've been doing that since Columbus sailed the ocean blue, and then before that. And now all of a sudden that's the cool thing to do? I don't know about it.
Well, it was cool years ago too because you were too poor to do anything.
That's I don't understand. I have friends come over, and my family's always been that way, snout to tail. When we get a cow butchered or a pig butchered, but we use everything. Like, for example, we'll get a beef tongue smoked, and then you have smoked tongue. Or we'll use the heart. And people come over, oh, how can you eat that stuff? It's part of the cow. Why would you just don't throw it away?
It's just a different muscle.
Yeah. But that's what this country's all about.
Well, that's how my grandparents were. When my grandma was yelling at me in Dutch, she was cutting paper towels into quarters so that she could use a little tiny quarter of the paper towel and not waste the whole paper towel.
Yeah, and what's wrong with that?
Nothing.
Nothing. But we want to throw everything away right away. And this idea of frugality is something that I think is important for us as part of our culture. And it reminds me of a joke.
All right.
What's the difference between a person from New York City, a person from from Pennsylvania that's not Pennsylvania Dutch, and someone that's Pennsylvania Dutch?
What's that?
Do you know?
No.
The three of them are all in a bar, and they all have a glass of beer, and a fly flies into the beer. The person from New York City right away would say, oh, bartender, take this beer away and get me a new one. I can't look at it. That flies in there.
And then they'd want the second one.
No, wait. Yeah, the person that's from Pennsylvania, that's not Pennsylvania Dutch, well, they might take that beer and say, oh, and pick the fly out and throw it away and then drink the beer. Not bad.
Oh, yeah.
But you know what the Dutchman does?
What's that?
The Dutchman takes the fly out and says, now you spit all that back on! And throws it in and drinks a beer. It's part of who we are.
That's true.
Why would you throw anything away? You don't waste nothing.
And then they would use the fly for something.
Possibly. Probably not, but possibly. But that's the point. You don't throw stuff away that's perfectly good to use. Like that Shawn Richardson said, I've watched some of these cooking shows. They throw so much food away.
Everything. And we wonder why people go hungry these days.
It's unacceptable. And I'm going to ask everyone right now to make a pledge.
All right. Well,
this week, or whenever you watch this video, try and be a little bit more frugal.
I would say so.
You're not only helping yourself, you're helping the planet, you're helping the country, you're helping everybody. Sounds like a pretty good plan if you ask me.
Well, a lot of other countries are doing that. They have recycling everywhere.
Absolutely.
So at the very least, you just not be a jerk.
Yeah, and you'll be a little Pennsylvania Dutch, and that's gotta make you feel good. Everybody wants to be a little Pennsylvania
Ain't Dutch, ain't much.
Start that way. Start saving things, and don't throw everything away.
All right. Well, you heard it from the Dutchman. Anything else, Doug?
Nay.
All righty. Well, thank you. This is Ask Pennsylvania Dutchman. My name is Chris, and this here is Doug. Until next time, mock scoot.
Mock scoot.
If you have a question, why you have to email us at bustapa@yahoo.com.